So today we're going to be talking about an in-house solution developed by Arrosoft actually, called Arrosoft Stealth, and how Arrosoft Stealth can help your customers secure their environment for many different kinds of cyber threats, and why you need something like Arrosoft Stealth to complement the existing security solutions that they already may have. So we'll dive right into it. I'm going to introduce the solution to you. I'm going to introduce some use cases to you. And at the end of it, my colleague, Shaker, is going to be walking you through a demo of Arrosoft Stealth so that you can actually see how Arrosoft Stealth secure one of the more popular use cases that we have. So without further ado, I'm just going to dive right in. And first, let me introduce Arrosoft to you. Now, many of you may not have heard about Arrosoft. We are quite a new company in the ASEAN region. Arrosoft was built around three key statements. Firstly, we help our customers protect data. We help our customers recover their businesses from any kind of scenario, whether it's a disaster or it's a cyber attack. And we also empower our partners with new solutions, new capabilities, and new technologies for them to bring to their customers. So today, Arrosoft, we are a global company. If you look at the map on the screen right here, we are present in all of these locations, either through our own offices and staff presence or through our partners. So Arrosoft was founded in the US about 12 years ago in New Jersey, and we have offices in all of these blue pins in India, Malaysia, Singapore, Vietnam, Hong Kong, Taiwan, and Japan. And through our partner engagements worldwide, we actually do projects and opportunities in all of these countries worldwide. So today, we have coverage in nearly every continent around the world. Now, Arrosoft, our solution set is largely focused around four key pillars surrounding data. So, for example, we have one pillar called production, which looks at where data lives and how do you access that data. We obviously have backup and disaster recovery, two very important aspects of data protection, backing up the data, making sure the data is recoverable during a disaster recovery. And our newest pillar is in cyber protection. How do we secure and protect that data from various kinds of cyber threats? So today we're going to be focusing a lot more on one particular solution in the cyber protection pillar called Arrosoft Stealth. And Arrosoft Stealth is a solution that we developed in-house because we started to see a lot of gaps in the industry in how customers were protecting their data and assets. And we came up with Arrosoft Stealth to fill those gaps. One of the key differentiators of working with Arrosoft is that everything that we do can be had as pay-per-use or subscription. So there's no need to buy perpetual licenses. There's no need to buy infrastructure upfront if you don't want to. We can provide everything on a pay-per-use basis. And everything that we do can be fully managed, which means that not only do we give you the solution to protect your environment, we also give you the expert services to help you monitor and manage that solution to ensure that you have that solution and are using it in the best way possible. So Arrosoft Stealth is actually a part of the Arrosoft 360-degree defense strategy. So the 360-degree defense strategy was designed around something that we call zero security posture. And zero security posture basically says that any security solution that you think you have to assume that it may fail. Now, what are you going to do when it fails? So we designed the 360-degree defense to really encompass all of the potential leaks and loopholes in security protection. So for example, layer one is prevent. And prevent literally tries to stop the attack from happening in the first place. And in the prevent layer, we have Sentinel-1 EDR and Arrosoft Stealth, which we'll be talking a lot more about today. But what if that prevention fails? What if that attacker is already inside your network? Then we have another layer called detect. And detect uses something that we call attack surface management through a solution called Arctic Security, EWS, to actually detect if there are attackers within your network stealing and exfiltrating data out of your network. And last but not least, right, if the attack is already ongoing, if your data has already been encrypted, you need an insurance policy, you need the ability to recover from any attack. And that's where Arrosoft comes in with our air gap solution. Think of air gap as basically a hidden safe deposit box of your most critical data that no one knows about because it's hidden. And if your actual production data is encrypted and your backups are destroyed, you still can recover from this insurance policy called Arrosoft Air Gap. So we're not going to talk about all of these today. We're going to be very focused around one solution in the prevent layer called Arrosoft Stealth. Now, why did we feel that there was a gap in the industry that we needed to create a new solution to protect data? All of you, I mean, there's no customer out there who has not paid a lot of money for security solutions. They have firewalls, they may have antivirus, they may have EDR, they may have intrusion detection, they may have SOC and SIEM monitoring, right? But despite all of our best efforts, despite all of the millions that we spend on these security solutions, sometimes it's just not enough. And that's largely because not only are the attackers today very sophisticated and very intelligent, they actually know where to hit you where it matters most. So what that means is that the attacker who comes at you with a ransomware, they ultimately want to get paid. And they know that one of the ways that prevents them from getting paid is if you have a good backup. So they'll go and they'll look for your backup and they'll destroy that backup so that you cannot recover. Okay. And the scary fact is 93 to 95% of ransomware attacks actually actively hunt and destroy your backup. So imagine you're a situation where you think you've got a backup, you spend money on backup, you're backing up every day, daily retention, how many years. And then one morning you get a ransomware attack notification. You try to restore and all of your backups are gone, or they're not restorable, or they're damaged in some way. And that's the reality in 9 out of 10 ransomware attacks. So there has to be a different way, a better way of protecting that, and we'll share that with you in Arrosoft Stealth. Another emerging trend that we are seeing is something called insider threat. Now, what an insider threat is, basically an employee within the target company, within your customer's company. That employee is working with the cyber attackers. They are allowing the cyber attackers into the network, either through the use of their own credential or them bringing in malware and implanting it within the network itself. Okay, and upon a successful ransomware attack and a payout, those insiders get paid as well. So we have come to the situation now where you can't even really trust the people who work for you. So if you think about your current environment or your customer's current environment, where there's a huge reliance on things like Active Directory, single sign-on, right? The assumption is that anyone who's already inside the network, because they have gone through a password, is trusted. But the reality is that today that's no longer true, right? Not only are there insider threats, but Active Directory passwords are being leaked on the dark web, and attackers are using this as their first entry point into your network and your organization. So what can we do to protect yourself in an environment where you assume the attacker is already inside the network, right? Because a firewall won't stop. The firewall couldn't stop them from coming in. They're already in. What can you do? So when we saw these emerging threats and trends, right, and they were not really being addressed by existing solutions. For example, like backup software doesn't know when it's under attack, right? Active Directory doesn't know when it's under attack, right? If you have a password, if you have an admin password, it will assume that you are legitimately an admin. And then you can go around and do whatever you want. So we created Arrosoft Stealth with what we call a next generation application and data firewall. So the whole idea is that assume nothing, trust nothing, protect everything. Don't assume that even though a user or something is already in the network that they're legitimate. So the way that Arrosoft does this, strangely or coincidentally, is how this airplane in the picture protects itself. So for those of you who are not aware, this is actually the F-117 Nighthawk stealth fighter. And by the name stealth, it actually protects itself because it hides itself in plain sight. Using special technology and engineering, it has made itself undetectable to enemy radar. So enemy radar cannot fire missiles at it and destroy it. So what we have done is we have taken this concept to translate it into a network protection solution that protects not only your data, but also your servers and assets. The whole idea behind Arrosoft Stealth is to hide your data, is to hide your critical assets so that they cannot be discovered, they cannot be found, and if they can't be found, they can't be attacked. So what better than to be like the stealth fighter? I'm flying around, I'm doing my own thing, but no one can see me, therefore no one can destroy me. So that's the premise of why we called it Arrosoft Stealth. So what does Arrosoft Stealth do? Arrosoft Stealth protects your data. It hides critical data files and folders and limits access to those critical data to only select privileged users. It protects your servers by hiding those servers so that they cannot be easily found to ensure that they cannot be found and cannot be attacked. And thirdly, it also protects your access. It assumes nothing. It doesn't trust the fact that a user who has a admin level single sign-on is really an admin. So it will create additional zero trust layers of protection to ensure that even the admin is not trusted to really secure your environment. So we'll go through the slides to tell you how all this works in deep technical detail, and then Shaker at the end of this presentation will will show you what it really looks like, and it's really very simple in the operation. So first and foremost, Arrosoft Stealth Defense feature protects data. Now, what do you mean by protecting data, right? So typically, we have data all throughout our environment, right? File servers, your application servers. And a lot of times, it is this data that is being targeted by the attackers. Not only in terms of wanting to encrypt the data so that you pay the ransom, but also to steal and exfiltrate the data and leak it out into dark web, either to compromise your company, to create an ugly public situation, or to sell the data, or for other attackers to use that data against you in the future attack. So what Arrosoft Stealth does is it literally hides critical data. And the way that we hide critical data is Arrosoft Stealth actually integrates with the OS kernel. And integrating with the OS kernel means that at the OS level, that file or that folder cannot be seen. Even if you are in Windows and you do show hidden files, that file remains hidden. Okay, so the only way to access that folder is to use the Arrosoft Stealth entry feature, which will ask for a separate password and a separate multi-factor authentication. So for critical data, we hide it in plain sight. Anyone without knowledge of Stealth, without the Stealth password, without the Stealth MFA, multi-factor authentication, cannot find, cannot see, cannot access this data. So by doing this, we ensure that the data that is securely hidden, attackers who are actually hunting around looking for this information to either steal or to leak or to encrypt won't even find it because they can't see it. And it is integrated into the OS kernel, so they cannot unhide it, right? And this works for both Windows and Linux. So this is one way. Arrosoft Stealth protects data by hiding it, but it doesn't end there. Arrosoft Stealth will also protect your critical servers and management consoles by hiding it as well. So that feature is called Security Broker, and this is how it works. So in a typical daily environment, you have your admin here, and your admin obviously to do his job and to manage his assets, he's got to use various management consoles. So we take, for example, a backup management console here. So the admin will access the management console through an IP address, input his credentials, and he will get access to the management console. A lot of times, these credentials are also probably linked to Active Directory. So he will put in his Active Directory credentials, and he has access to the management console. Once he's in the management console, he can do anything. He's admin, right? He can create backups, destroy backups, whatever he wants to. It gives him all the rights. But what if you are in a situation where the admin password has been compromised? We all know that majority of cyber attacks actually start with credentials. They start at the Active Directory. They start at the single sign-on, where attackers will come in and either hijack an existing credential or create admin level access for themselves. So what if your admin credential is already compromised? What can you do? So what we do is we introduce something called the security broker. And the security broker is basically the tunnel server. And we protect your critical asset behind a logical firewall that denies everything other than access from the security broker. So we call this the Arrosoft Stealth protection zone. Okay. So the only way to enter the management console to do the management task is they have to go through the firewall. And the only way through the firewall is through the security broker, right? But it doesn't end there. That's not good enough. We also want to ensure that the admin that is doing the job is the proper and correct person, right? So we have a two-step protection for this. The first one is we will authorize the admin's own physical device or laptop or desktop with a passport agent. So any device that doesn't have the passport agent cannot talk through the security broker. You need the passport agent to initiate contact with the security broker. So Arrosoft Stealth actually authenticates the device itself. You could be an admin, but if you're using someone else's laptop, you could not even talk to the security broker. So that secures the device. Once you are into the security broker, you will need to enter the stealth credentials and MFA, two-factor authentication, to even talk to the firewall. So that authenticates the user. So if and only after you have gone through the firewall can you put in the management console credentials. So you see here is a multi-step process to really add additional security to protect your critical asset. Okay, so not only do we protect the device, we also protect the user identity. And because this is a completely different system from Active Directory or SSO, this doesn't share their passwords. This is a zero trust environment. Now, what happens if you have an attacker already in your network? And obviously, they are looking for your data, they're looking for your backups to destroy your backups, to corrupt your backup. And he will try to hunt for the standard management console IP addresses, but he won't find them because this management console is hidden in the stealth protection zone and it's deny everything. Maybe this hacker is very smart. Maybe he knows that, hey, there might be a security broker or a tunnel server somewhere. Let's go look for that. And he manages to find that, but he still cannot talk to the security broker because he doesn't have the passport agent, right? So this passport agent denies him access even into the first layer. But what if we have a particularly intelligent attacker and he somehow realizes that he needs to use the admin's own laptop? So when the admin is out for lunch, he tries to go to the laptop, and now that he has access to the laptop, he can see the security broker and he tries to log in. He still cannot go through the firewall because he doesn't have the admin's stealth credentials and 2FA, which are tied to the admin's mobile phone. So even though he may have admin AD credentials, he won't have the stealth credentials and 2FA. He gets stopped here. And Arrosoft Stealth is smart enough to realize that there might be multiple failed attempts to log in, right? And to deny the access, to log those failed attempts and to alert the admin that, hey, someone is trying to use your password to log into Arrosoft Stealth to do damage. So you see here, right, by putting in these multiple layers of zero trust security, the passport agent and the two-factor authentication and stealth credentials, we actively prevent unauthorized users, whether they are attackers or even insider threats, from even getting into your management consoles for them to do damage. So what does this mean? How do I protect my environment? So Arrosoft Stealth can be used to protect literally any environment that A, has critical data, or B, has a management console that you think is important to secure. So for example, we can protect backup servers, web app servers, AD servers, VMware vCenters, database servers. So depending on the use case, there might be a multi-layer approach to protecting this data. For example, for Active Directory, for Arrosoft, for web servers, for database servers, we will protect the files by hiding the files. And then for critical servers like backup servers, where you have a management console, or vCenter, where you have a management console, we will also deploy security broker to protect the access into those servers and hide those servers from being detected. So this is a multi-layer approach. So over the next few slides, we'll talk about some very, I would say, popular use cases for Arrosoft Stealth in terms of how our customers today are generally using Arrosoft Stealth to protect their environment. So the first use case is to protect the backup servers. So today, backup has become a critical aspect of trying to survive a ransomware attack. Without backup, the chance of survivability are very low. So the attackers know this, and what attackers are doing is they are actively searching for the backup server, and they are going into the backup server through the management console, and they are damaging your backup database and your backup catalog. So this is the first attack. By damaging the database and catalog, even if you have good, clean data on the backup tape, you cannot restore, because backup doesn't know where to send the data to. There's no more database, no more catalogs. All right. Attackers are also looking for your backup repository, your backup storage, and stealing data from there to leak into dark web or to sell the data, right? So that other people can use it in future attacks. And last but not least, they will also try to damage and delete the data in your backup storage so that you cannot restore. So imagine yourself, like I said earlier, waking up on a Monday morning to realize that attackers had 48 hours over the weekend to destroy your environment, destroy your backup catalog and database, destroy your backups. What do you do? So in order to prevent that from happening, this is how Arrosoft Stealth protects your backup infrastructure. And this is a perfect example of how we use Arrosoft Stealth in a multi-layer approach. All right. So first and foremost, Arrosoft Stealth, as I said earlier, passport agent protects the access and limits it only to authorized devices. So notably, the admin's own laptop. So not just anybody with any laptop inside the network can access the security broker. They need to have a passport agent, and only the admin's real work laptop has that passport agent before the admin can even talk to the security broker. The security broker protects the access to your backup console by providing a separate zero trust password and username, and also multi-factor authentication, right? So without this stealth credentials and multi-factor authentication, the admin can't even get into the backup server and access the console. So there's already 2 layers of protection. We also protect the server by hiding the backup server and console behind the firewall so that it cannot be easily discovered. And we also hide the backup repository files and folders. So if you are backing up into, let's say, for example, a file server, an NFS server in your network, and you have a folder or a drive specifically for this backup software to use, we will hide those folders, we will hide those files, so that the attackers who are actively in your network, they found your file server, they are looking for the backups, they won't even see it. they think it's somewhere else. So because they don't know it's there, they can't access it, they can't attack it, they can't destroy it. And last but not least, the fifth layer of defense is basically a scheduled air gap. So Arrosoft Stealth can actually enact or put on a scheduled air gap whereby only at certain times that link to the backup is open and you can start backing up. And most customers will only set that during the backup window. And once that backup window is over, that link goes down and doesn't open again to the next backup window. So in that quiet time, right, where no backup is going on, that link is closed off and attackers cannot even find the backup server and the backup storage. So with this 5 layers of protection that Arrosoft Stealth can do, just to protect your backup, it really helps to secure your backup from the threat of ransomware attack. So that's one use case. Now, the second use case is also something that's very common, and we all know that most cyber attacks start in Active Directory, right? And this is Active Directory on-premise. So most of the cyber attacks start when attackers, either through a malware or through insider threat, have found their way into your network, right? And presumably they have some kind of credential, maybe not an admin credential, or they have stolen or bought some leaked credentials and passwords on dark web, and they have now found their way into your network and have found your Active Directory server. So the threat here is basically stolen leaked credentials, or an insider has invited them into the network. So once they have gained access into your network and they have found your AD server, there are many ways that attackers can elevate themselves into an admin status. One of these is called a privilege elevation attack, where using various techniques, even from a non-admin user, they have a way to increase their privilege to become an admin user. And of course, once we know, right, if you're an admin user, you are literally God. You can do whatever in the network and it will never raise any alarm, right? So one of the challenges is that once you're an admin user, you are assumed to be trusted and you can do anything. So what we do in Arrosoft Stealth is that to make it more difficult for the attackers to find your Active Directory console, we hide and we restrict access to the Active Directory infrastructure, including the Microsoft Management Console, where you actually manage Active Directory, to the DSAC, to the Global Policy Manager console, so that by hiding these consoles and requiring special Arrosoft Stealth access to even use these consoles, it makes it a lot harder for attackers to really get into and damage your Active Directory. Stealth Defense also actively hides the group policy files, the AD backups and logs and files and folders, so that in the event that they try to damage it, there is still a recourse, there's still a way that we can hide them so that they cannot fully damage the Active Directory, and we can ensure that Active Directory is recoverable. Okay? Now, attackers are smart. Maybe they have not managed to find your console, they can't actively damage your Active Directory today, and they can't create admin credentials for them to use in this attack against you. So Stealth has helped you prevent the attack. But that doesn't mean the attacker cannot do damage. Another common attack on Active Directory is something called NTDS extraction. So all of the data, your passwords, your users, their rights and privileges are all stored inside something called the Active Directory database, which is literally one file, ntds.dit. So what attackers are known to do is to steal this ntds.dit file, extract it, exfiltrate it to another location, and then crack it so that after they crack it, those credentials can be used in a follow-up attack or leak into dark web and sold, right? So what Arrosoft Stealth can also do to prevent this from happening is to actually hide the NTDS file or hide the NTDS folder. So any attackers looking to steal extract NTDS and crack NTDS, they can't even find it in the first place. So with these two methods, we actively protect Active Directory, not only to prevent the attackers from doing privilege elevation and from changing and damaging your policies, to even actively protecting and hiding the AD database so that it cannot be stolen and cracked and get access to those passwords in there. The third popular use case that we have is basically protecting the web servers. So the threat here is basically today many of us rely on web servers either for e-commerce or for doing all kinds of functions. For example, banks require a lot of web servers and web interfaces to do digital banking, and that's a core functionality and very critical in terms of security protection. A very popular attack is something called website cloning, where attackers will steal your website content, your HTML files, your JavaScript files, and modify them and use them for phishing attacks and online fraud. So basically, the attacker will hijack your website, create their version of your website, but all the links, all the transactions, everything goes back to them, right? So they have used your name to steal money and steal data. They may also steal the user data from your own website, right? And either leak that out or use it in future attacks or sell them on dark web. So all of these different attacks actually eventually not only will it damage the brand of your company, it will damage the reputation. And there have been many companies in the past who were the victims of leaked data, and they were held responsible with large fines, right? And of course, losing customer trust and tarnishing their reputation. So what Arrosoft Stealth can do to protect your website and your web servers is the use of Arrosoft Stealth Defense to hide the website files, the HTML files, the JavaScript files, and the user data. So again, hiding in plain sight, removing them from being easily found by attackers so that they cannot be stolen, they cannot be leaked, and this attack cannot be used against you. So these are just three of the more popular use cases. And really, there's a large combination of how you can use Arrosoft Stealth to protect other workloads, such as databases and application servers as well, but using the same concepts of self-defense to hide critical data and security broker to hide access to critical servers. Okay? So what is required in terms of running Arrosoft Stealth? Licensing is quite simple. It's on a per year basis. So to start your own stealth environment in your network, you will need to have the Arrosoft Stealth server license, and this is required before you can enjoy the Arrosoft Stealth features, right? So this is required one instance per location. If you want to use Arrosoft Stealth Defense, the ability to hide your files and folders, then you need to have the Arrosoft Stealth Defense license. And that is charged on a per OS per year. So any server that you want to hide files in, that one server requires one license. If you want to run Security Broker, there are two different licenses that you need. You need to have a license to run the Security Broker instance. And this Security Broker instance is the one that is used to create the firewall, is used to hide the servers. And then you also need to have the Passport Agent license. The Passport Agent license is where you will install into the admin laptop to enable the laptop to talk to the security broker. Okay. And last but not least, for the multi-factor authentication, sometimes customers prefer to have an on-premise MFA server. Then we have the ability to provide that as well. This is optional because by default, Arrosoft Stealth will use a cloud-based MFA server, and that you can use at no additional charge. Okay, so this is how Arrosoft licensing works. Now, for our partners in this call, using Arrosoft Stealth is easy as 1, 2, 3. Many of my partners bundle Arrosoft Stealth into their projects. not only to strengthen and improve the security of their project, but really to help them differentiate themselves from all of the other competitors out there who may not have access to a solution like Arrosoft Stealth. So the projects that are most popular to bundle with Arrosoft Stealth are the backup projects, the VMware projects, whether they are VMware itself or VMware replacement, and also the web and database projects. You can bundle Arrosoft Stealth to add an extra layer of protection. Many of our partners also introduce Arrosoft Stealth as a standalone solution to secure their customers' existing infrastructure and workloads, because they see that there is a lot of loopholes and gaps that could be compromised by attackers. So Arrosoft Stealth adds that additional layer of protection even to existing environments in the customer's network. And last but not least, right, adding Arrosoft Stealth features and capabilities into your RFP and tender will also help to strengthen the solution and differentiate yourself away from your competitors. So I hope you have found this slide portion of the presentation interesting. I would like to pass the floor now to my colleague, Shaker, who will take you through a demo of how Arrosoft Stealth works. So Shaker, over to you.
Hey, hi everyone. Just give me a moment. I will share my screen and I will walk you through how Stealth works. So just give me a moment.
And while Shaker is sharing his screen, if you do have any questions, feel free to throw that into the Q&A. We will answer them as we see them, or we will also have a short Q&A session at the end of the presentation.
Okay, so as Eric mentioned, I will just walk you through the regular process, how we access the backup server and everything. So in today's session, I will show you how to protect the backup server and the repositories associated to it. So I'll just log into one of the server. Yep. So this is where I landed on the backup server and I'm trying to access the backup application. That would be my daily routine when I come to office during my shifts and everything. Once I log in over here, I can go to the backup jobs. I can go to the inventory or backup infrastructure. I can see the backup repositories. I can right click them, remove them, rescan them, whatever I want. I can do this to the regular stuff when I have access to the servers, which doesn't have passport agent or the security broker installed on the environment. So this is the daily task. I can see, okay, I have C backups and these are the backup repositories. I can go here, I can access these backup repositories. I will try to select it. I can delete it. As of now, I'm not deleting it because that's something that we are using for the demo, but you can select that folder. You can see that folder. You can access the drive and everything, and you can delete that data or make damage to your backup environment. This is a regular process of accessing the servers and doing the day-to-day job. So let me disconnect this server and I will show you. We have another server for this demo, which is protected using Arrosoft Stealth. So if I try to log into this server, we have disabled the RDP access to this server, and it's used or it's protected using the security broker behind the firewall that security broker has. So if you try to access that server, it should give me an error that the server is turned off or something. It's not available in the network. What I have to do is, if you see here, this icon, this is the passport agent icon that I have installed the agent on my laptop. And to access that server, I just have to open this application, key in my username and password over here. The next level of protection, as Eric mentioned, is your two-factor authentication. So I have to key in the authenticated code, and that it will open a new explorer for me. If you see on the right side of this corner, it has the stealth defense icon, so that I have opened this particular explorer using the secured thing or the passport agent. This is an indication of that thing. Now, if I go to the desktop thing and I'll try to access the RDP thing, I will use the same server to try to access it, and it should allow me to add the credentials. So this is the first level of defense, or you can say where the server is itself is hidden behind security broker and you are unable to RDP to that server. And to access that server, you need to key in the passport agent uh, password and then the multi-factor authentication. Guess that's what Eric said, that the hacker has access to your admin's laptop. He gets the credentials and everything. He lands onto this server and he wants to check what's on your console and everything. He tries to access this thing. He won't be able to do it because, again, we have protected it using the secure defense agent, which is installed on this server. So that doesn't allow you to access that particular application. The shortcut is not accessible. So maybe he will try to find the location of that particular file. If you see, you can go here. Okay, VM replication and everything. If he sees that, okay, where is that location? Okay, VM backup and everything, where in program files, you might try to go to C drive, program files, and if you see here, you can't see any folder named as VM. Well, let me make it large icons. If you see here, I don't have any folder named as Veeam where the Veeam application is installed or the backup software is installed. I will try to see if hidden files and everything. Even if I open or select that hidden files option, I can see the hidden folders that are hidden by the OS, Windows OS, but you can't see the Veeam application over here. Okay. Next thing, if you see, I will show you it on another server, but before we go there, I will try to open this application and I will show you how that is done. So I will right click this thing. Let me refresh the screen. And if you see that we have an icon over here, stealth defense and by entry. So using the stealth defense by entry, I can access this application. I key in the username and password and this application opens. You can add an additional layer for this as well. What we saw on the passport agent, where we key in the username and password and it asks for that OTP thing, the multi-factor authentication. You can add that additional layer to this application as well. As of now, I have not done it just for a simple demo and everything, but you can add that additional layer here so that even if that password is available for the hacker after he lands on that particular backup server or the application server, if he has the password, he won't be having the multi-factor authentication or that authenticator code in his hand. So that would be additional layer. I'll just click on and I will connect to this application. So let's wait for it to run. Okay, so you have the application open and everything is running fine. You see the backup jobs and everything. Here, if you see, I will show you the backup repositories. So this backup repository, it's located into F:" backups. So all the data is going here. But if you see on this particular Explorer, you won't be seeing any backup folder here, which can be deleted or which can be accessed by the hacker because it's already hidden using the security thing or the secure defense program. So you won't be able to see it, but it exists here. If you see here, it's only the application that can access it, which we have added the secure process, the Vim processes to the secure process thing, where it will allow to write the backups to this folders or this particular path. So it's only Veeam that would be accessing this folder. Windows Explorer or the hackers, they won't be able to see that thing. Now let's verify whether it's all existing there or not. So let me do one thing, minimize this thing. We have this secure defense entry over here. Just double click on it. Again, you have to key in. Every time you are trying to access the protected asset or application, you have to key in the password. It's not that you give it one time and it's open forever. So every time you try to access that application or any of the folder using secure entry, you have to key in the password. Same thing what we saw on my laptop, it will open a secured explorer for you. And now if you go here, and if you see, you can see these folders, right? Let me make it a bigger thing. Backups, and VBR catalog. So everything is protected using the secure defense thing. So if you go to the regular Explorer, you won't see this thing. Using the secure defense thing, you can see this thing that this exists here and those are hidden to Windows and all those things. Same happens with the Veeam folder, which we were trying to access earlier. So if you see here, you have the Veeam folder over here, which has the secure protected icon on it, and it's protected using the secure defense thing. So this folder exists on the system, but they are not available for the OS and the hackers. So they won't be able to see it. And that's where they won't be able to make changes or destroy those folders or the data. So this is where we protect the folders and everything. One more thing I will show you on another server where you can add an additional layer to that protected directories and everything. I'm again using this secure defense thing to open this server because this server is also hidden behind the security broker. So if I land over here, same thing, he will try to access everything. And now here you have mentioned something as a backup repository into the Explorer thing. Since the hacker is not able to access your application or make changes to it, and if he sees here in the Explorer thing, he won't be able to find that Veeam directory and everything. So he notices that there is something called as backup repository. He tries to access it. I've protected this entire drive using secure defense, so he won't be able to access this drive itself and all the data under it. So that's not accessible to him. Next step, probably the hacker would be doing to directly format that drive. Even if he tries to format that particular drive, he doesn't have sufficient info rights to do that thing. So he won't be able to format the drive or delete any data or do damage to any of your environment. So that's how we are protected. We can protect your application. You can protect your folders. You can hide them. You can protect even the drive that is attached to the OS so that no hacker can access it or they can't delete it. So that's something that I wanted to show you on this part of this demo. Any questions on this thing or you want to see anything? You can drop a question so in the chat box, in the Q&A thing. Eric, from the demo thing, I think I've completed the things, whatever the cases that we can show for backup and recovery for Veeam, where we can protect the backup server, we can protect the application, we can protect the files and folders, and even the drive associated to the data where the data has been backed up. Over to you, Eric.
Have you shown the security broker?
Yes, security broker. Yeah, I did show them while I'm accessing the server itself. It will pass on to the security broker because that won't be allowing them to access the server itself.
Do you want to show the security broker user interface?
The app, server interface.
The security
Okay.
broker, the the self-server
Yeah,
interface.
Yes, just a moment. Okay, so here we land on the server. This is the console for security broker and Arrosoft Stealth. So again, this has multi-factor authentication. So even if you have credentials, you won't be able to log in. It will send out an email to me. So let me check the email for authentication. Okay. Okay, so this is something how the console looks like. We have the control server over here. If you see here, the processes that I was talking about, which allows Veeam to write the data to the secured folder, is we have allowed all those process or added them to a secure process. So only Veeam application is able to talk to that particular folder where the data resides. Other than that, even the OS won't be able to access that thing. So these are all processes that are added to the secure process in the control server. That's the reason Veeam is allowed or able to write the data to that particular folder for the scheduled backups. This is the tunnel server or the security broker server that we were talking about. These are the settings. So we have protected these servers, the server that we were logged in .71.74. I've added another more. So these are all servers that are protected, so they can't access you over the RDP. If you see here, you can add the folders over here, or you can add the website and everything over the ports and everything. So you can add all these options over here to secure your server accessing over the internet or NFS file shares and everything. Coming to this thing, this is something that if you see here, the Windows System 32 process or this process are trying to access that were servers, the hidden folders, but they are not permitted, so they won't be able to access that folder which is protected. So there are multiple services that will try to access that thing using, including the Explorer and everything. Only the secured process will be able to access that thing. Then we have this client settings where once you install the secure the SD secure defense agent on your machine, that server would be located over here, and you can see all the servers here, which are protected using control or the security using the Arrosoft Stealth thing. And if you see here, it shows my laptop over here where I've used the product passport agent to access all these servers which are behind the security broker thing. On the console itself, you get 4 options where you have the control server where we are, as of now, seeing the single console. Then this is another which is tunnel server where we have to configure the control server itself as a tunnel server. So we have done the configuration here. Then we have log server, which Eric did mention whenever there is an unauthorized access and everything. So that things would be logged over here. Whatever information or whoever is trying to access that thing, all this information would be logged in over here. And another, the last one is the identity server. If you want to add additional users who can manage this control server or the Arrosoft Stealth server and everything, you can add all those users. This is nothing to do with your Active Directory or anything. This is solely the user information or the user that you created. It's only responsible for this control server and Arrosoft Stealth application. So they have nothing to do with your Active Directory and everything. Yeah, that's it from the Stealth console and everything, how it looks and what all options we are having over here. Eric, anything else that you want me to show or?
No, that's good. So,
Yeah,
Josh or Angel, back to you. So
yeah,
thank you all,
I've shared.
everybody. I think we've come to the end of the presentation and demo.